November 15th, 1943. Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland. 34 degrees and falling. A single German Kübelwagen rolls off a transport truck and onto American soil. 1,740 pounds of enemy engineering. Staff Sergeant Mike Kowalski watches from beneath his collar, his breath fogging in the frozen air. 15 years on the Ford and Chrysler assembly lines have given him hands that can read engines like Braille. And today, those hands are about to touch what the War Department calls German perfection. Every mechanic on base expects to see proof, the legendary precision that made Germany famous for its machines. The brass want to know if the rumors are true. Is this really superior engineering, or just a story we've been telling ourselves? The tarp comes off, revealing a car that looks more like a toy than a war machine. Smooth, minimal, elegant. The kind of vehicle that seems to whisper rather than roar. But when Kowalski pops the hood, that whisper turns into disbelief. What's sitting beneath that hood isn't what anyone expected. A tiny air-cooled flat four engine stares back, fragile, almost delicate like something meant for a lawnmower, not a battlefield. Kowalski double-checks the numbers. 25 horsepower. That can't be right. The American Willys Jeep makes 60. Even his dad's 1920 Model A had more power than this. The whole myth of German automotive supremacy starts to crack right there in the freezing Maryland wind. If this is the best they've got, how are American boys still dying in European mud? The question hits harder than any torque reading. The Kübelwagen may be German-built, but it's already showing cracks in the Empire's legend. And tomorrow, the real tests begin. By sunrise, the full evaluation team is ready. Technical Sergeant James Patterson, a former GM engineer, arrives with a clipboard thick as a Bible. He speaks the language of torque, precision, and test protocol. Then there's Corporal Tommy Chun, a Berkeley mathematician with a slide rule always in hand. Numbers are his battlefield. Together, the three of them form a perfect triangle. Detroit instinct, corporate precision, and mathematical truth. The mission: a complete technical evaluation for War Department Manual TME 9-83. The stakes: proving once and for all whether German engineering supremacy is real or just wartime propaganda. The hood closes. The dyno hums to life. And what happens next will make history. The dynamometer test starts slow. The Kübelwagen's engine hums like a sewing machine, smooth but faint, almost apologetic. At full throttle, the truth appears in cold, merciless numbers. 25.3 horsepower. Exactly what the specs claimed. No hidden potential. No secret power. The engineers look at one another. This isn't a broken engine. It's designed to be this way. German engineers didn't chase power. They chased efficiency. Lightweight. Simplicity. Air cooling instead of liquid systems. Smart in theory, but a risk in practice. Rear-mounted engine for traction, but harder to repair in combat. To the men in the lab, it's more than a technical choice. It's a philosophy, one that's about to be tested against America's obsession with brute strength. The next test is Aberdeen's Hill Course, a brutal 12 degrees incline. To a soldier, it's a mountain. To a mechanic, it's Judgment Day. Kowalski grips the wheel as the Kübelwagen starts its climb. The engine whines. The temperature climbs faster than the vehicle does. 500 feet up, the gauges flash red. 800 feet, and the car is gasping for life. At 900, it quits. The German Miracle rolls backward down the hill like it's surrendering. Minutes later, the Willys Jeep attacks the same slope, climbs it effortlessly, still begging for more. 25 horsepower versus 60. Numbers that tell a story louder than any headline. The myth of superiority just lost traction. If the hill test was a defeat, the sand test is humiliation. The Kübelwagen is guided into a shallow 4-inch sand pit, barely enough to trouble a delivery truck. Within seconds, its narrow tires spin uselessly. The rear-wheel drive, once praised for its efficiency, is now a liability. The vehicle digs itself into a hole, literally. The Willys Jeep, heavier and less elegant, storms through 18 inches of sand like it's nothing. Word spreads fast across the proving ground. Technicians from other departments come to see it for themselves. German engineering outclassed by American grit. The so-called precision machine isn't built for war's chaos. It's built for theory. December turns the testing hangar into a refrigerator. Perfect for the next test. Maintenance. An oil change on a Jeep? 12 minutes, start to finish. On the Kübelwagen? 45 minutes. And most of that's just try to reach the drain plug hidden behind protective plates. Kowalski shakes his head. Whoever designed this never turned a wrench in the field. Every bolt feels like it was placed by someone who thought soldiers had all day to make repairs in perfect conditions. To the engineers, one thing becomes clear. German cars might look clean on the drawing board, but they're a nightmare in the mud. Then comes the spark plug replacement, a task any farmhand in Iowa could do blindfolded on a Jeep. But on the Kübelwagen, it turns into an ordeal. The plugs are buried under cooling shrouds and electrical lines. To change one, you have to half-disassemble the engine. A job that should take 8 minutes takes 35. This is insane, Kowalski mutters, holding the greasy plug like evidence from a crime scene. You need a workshop, not a battlefield. The team realizes this isn't just about complexity, it's about philosophy. German design hides everything beneath layers of precision. American design keeps it honest and practical. One looks like art, the other wins wars. December 8th, temperature, 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Time for the cold start test. The Kübelwagen sputters once, twice, 6 times. Nothing. Its air-cooled system avoids freezing water, but in the process, it freezes itself out of action. The Jeep starts on the first turn of the key, its liquid-cooled engine rumbling to life like a promise. Patterson checks the data sheet. The numbers are brutal. The German engine fails basic winter operation, a fatal flaw for any army fighting in snow. Kowalski exhales a foggy laugh. Game over. For all its precision, the German car just can't survive the cold reality of war. By dawn, the hangar feels less like a workshop and more like a war room. Patterson's data sheets stretch across the table, raw, undeniable proof that the so-called German advantage was nothing but engineering mythology. But that mythology had power. It shaped how the world saw the enemy. Perfect, precise, unstoppable. Now, staring at the numbers, the men realize something deeper. Germany's vehicles aren't better. They're optimized for survival under scarcity. Chun puts it best. They're fighting a poor man's war with rich man's precision. Every bolt, every ounce, every compromise tells the same story. A nation short on resources, long on ingenuity. The Americans, meanwhile, have the opposite. Resources in abundance, power without limitation. It's not superiority, it's philosophy. 2 ways of fighting the same war. Transition. But that truth raised an even harder question. If we've built the better machines, why aren't we winning faster? The answer, they realize, isn't in the metal, it's in the men. The Wehrmacht doesn't win through horsepower. It wins through organization. Every German soldier knows his role. Every machine fits a doctrine designed to squeeze every drop of efficiency from inferior tools. Kowalski studies the report again, frowning. They built for function. We built for freedom. The Kübelwagen's flaws suddenly make sense. It's simple to mass produce, light enough for poor roads, efficient on fuel, and easy to transport. American machines, on the other hand, are masterpieces of excess. Powerful, durable, but demanding. They need trained drivers, organized logistics, and industrial support that only America can sustain. Patterson writes the line that will define their report. The Germans win battles through doctrine. We will win wars through production. Transition. And that realization would shape every tank, truck, and Jeep that rolled out of Detroit after 1943. Spring 1944. Across the Atlantic, American factories roar with purpose. Detroit, once the heart of consumer dreams, now beats like an arsenal. The lessons from Aberdeen have become doctrine. Mechanics are trained faster. Vehicles are serviced smarter. The Jeep isn't just a machine anymore. It's a symbol of what happens when practicality wins over perfection. Meanwhile, Germany is suffocating under its own sophistication. Engines that once purred with elegance now stall for lack of fuel. Factories crumble under bombing raids. Every hour of lost maintenance becomes a death sentence for a division. For every one vehicle Germany builds, America builds 20. Quantity becomes a kind of quality all its own. Transition. And all of it leads to a single morning. One that would prove Kowalski's numbers right on the beaches of Normandy. June 6, 1944. 16,000 American jeeps roll across the sands of Normandy. Engines roar where the Kübelwagen once whispered. Power replaces precision. Every bolt, every engine, every drop of oil carries the lessons learned at Aberdeen. The war isn't won by the most elegant machine. It's won by the one that works when you need it most. Somewhere back in Maryland, Kowalski reads the headlines. He knows those numbers, 25 versus 60, 8 degrees versus 27 degrees, aren't just statistics anymore. They're history. The Kübelwagen proved one thing. German engineering wasn't unbeatable. It was just different, built for limits, not dominance. And when those two philosophies finally met on the battlefield, only one could endure. As the waves crash over Normandy's sand, the myth of German superiority dies quietly, replaced by something louder, heavier, unstoppable. American industrial power. And for Mike Kowalski, that little capture car at Aberdeen had revealed the truth long before D-Day. In war, the best machine isn't the smartest one. It's the one that survives.